Welcome back to Podwave Pulse, ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that I think is universally fascinating, the psychology of success. We've gone through tons of research observations, really tried to distill it down to the core psychological traits and also those external environmental factors that, well, they really seem to make a difference in whether someone hits their goals or not. So consider this your fast track to understanding what makes success tick, backed by solid research and hopefully some aha moments along the way for you.
Absolutely. We're not just looking at who is successful, right, but the underlying why. What's going on beneath the surface? Our goal today is to uncover those mental frameworks, those external forces that consistently pop up in the stories of people who achieve their ambitions.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. When we talk about the psychology of success, we're not talking about winning the lottery luck, are we?
Not even close. Our sources really hammer home the point that success is much more about specific psychological characteristics than random chance.
Interesting. So less about luck and more about how our brains are wired, huh? Our thinking patterns, how we react emotionally, even just our day-to-day behaviors.
You got it. But here's the really cool part. A lot of these success traits, they're not fixed. With some self-awareness and effort, we can actually build them up, make them stronger.
Okay, I like that. We have more control than we might think.
But it's not just about what's going on inside, right?
Yep.
Our inner psychology is always bumping up against, the real world, that external environment.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. The way we're wired affects how we see the world, how we deal with it, and then our experiences, where we are, all that shapes our beliefs and what opportunities even come our way. This constant back and forth, it really shapes our whole trajectory.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, so let's get specific. What are those key psychological traits that really seem to set successful individuals apart? What jumped out at you from all this research? Well, you have to start with self-awareness. You really got to know your own strengths and weaknesses. When you understand what you're good at and where you need to improve, you can play to your strengths, right? And strategically address those limitations. And closely tied to self-awareness is emotional intelligence.
Ooh, I've heard a lot about that lately, but what does it actually mean?
Basically, it's the ability to not only understand and manage your own emotions, but to read the emotions of others and respond effectively. It's a game changer for navigating all those social interactions, building those strong support networks. And let's be real, success often involves working with others, right?
Big time. Okay, so know yourself, that's step one. What else? What other, mental muscles do successful folks seem to have?
Resiliency and persistence, those are non-negotiable. It's the ability to bounce back from setbacks. What separates successful individuals is they don't look at failure as a dead end. It's a learning opportunity, a chance to course correct. They're committed to those long-term goals, and they have that uncanny ability to get up, dust themselves off, and keep going, often even stronger than before.
We've all been there, right? Tripped up, fallen flat. It's that getting back up that seems to make all the difference. And I'd imagine a healthy dose of optimism, that positive mindset, helps fuel that resilience.
Oh, absolutely. When you can look at challenges and see possibilities instead of just roadblocks, it's powerful and not only keeps you going, but it creates a more supportive, encouraging environment for everyone around you. It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
I love that. Positive energy is contagious. But okay, how do we take this mindset and turn it into, actually achieving something? Goal setting, strategy, those have to come into play here.
Right on. Successful people tend to be incredibly clear about what they want to achieve. They set specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound what we call SMART goals. But it doesn't stop there.
So it's not just about having a big dream.
Nope. They take those big goals and break them down into bite-sized pieces, make a plan, a strategic roadmap. They map out the steps, they anticipate what might trip them up, and they regularly check their progress, adjust as they go. It's having that vision, sure, but also having a detailed route to get there.
It's like having the destination and a map, right? Okay, so let's talk about putting in the work. Consistency, routine, those have to be important here too.
Absolutely. Building disciplined routines, it creates structure, it makes sure your day-to-day actions are in sync with those bigger goals. It's about making those sustainable habits that add up to big progress over time. Think of it like compound interest. Small, consistent effort leads to huge gains in the long run.
It's the little things, day after day, that add up. Now, the world is changing so fast these days. I have to imagine lifelong learning, being adaptable, those are critical for success too.
Totally essential. Successful individuals are always learning. Always. They actively seek out new information, new skills, whether that's formal education, real-world experience, finding a mentor, even just reading a ton. And importantly, they're open to new ideas, able to shift gears and adapt as new information comes their way.
That makes sense. You got to be willing to learn and evolve. And, we touched on it earlier, but building relationships, that seems to be another big theme.
For sure. Successful people understand that they rarely achieve anything alone. They prioritize building and nurturing those meaningful connections. Collaboration, support, getting diverse perspectives, it's all powerful. Strong relationships can open doors, give you a huge boost along the way.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Okay, last one. And this seems tricky. Risk-taking. But with wisdom, how do you balance that?
Right, it's a fine line. Now, successful individuals aren't necessarily jumping out of planes, but they are willing to step outside their comfort zone, take calculated risks when the opportunity is right. They weigh the potential downsides, of course, but they also see the potential payoff. They understand that sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to grow.
So it's a measured, strategic approach to taking chances. Now, we focused a lot on those internal qualities, but our sources also point to some external stuff, right? That environment we talked about earlier, it plays a big role too.
Huge role. Individual psychology is crucial, of course, but the context we're in, it can either make things easier or a whole lot harder.
Let's start with something pretty fundamental. Socioeconomic status, or SES. Seems like that can really set the stage for what's possible.
You bet. SES is about family income, parental education, occupation. It really determines what resources and opportunities are available from a young age. And unfortunately, research shows that lower SEF often means more financial stress, more emotional stress within families.
It can trickle down, right?
It does. It can impact parent-child relationships and ultimately a child's development and their future.
Makes sense. So those external circumstances can create some real headwinds early on. But I'd imagine higher SES can be a buffer.
Exactly. Studies have shown that higher SES often means those parent-child relationships are more stable, more supportive, and that acts as a protective factor. It helps offset some of the stress, provides a stronger base for development.
Moving beyond finances, what about cultural influences? I'm guessing those shape our understanding of success too.
Totally. Different cultures have different values, different ideas about what achievement looks like. For example, individualistic cultures, they often put more emphasis on personal achievements, being independent. Collectivist cultures, on the other hand, might prioritize group harmony, the well-being of the community as a whole. These cultural frameworks, they have a huge impact on individual goals, motivations, how people try to succeed within their own context.
That's fascinating. It's like those broader societal values trickle down to shape what we aspire to, how we behave. And even something as basic as geography, where we live, can have an impact.
It can. Research has actually found regional personality differences. For instance, in the US, studies have found that folks living in the upper Midwest and the Deep South, they tend to be more friendly and conventional. These regional variations, they can impact social interactions, even the kinds of industries and opportunities that are prevalent in an area, even general attitudes about ambition and achievement.
It's like the environment subtly shapes who we are, what we see as possible. Now, last but not least, mentorship. That environmental factor seems so important.
Invaluable. Mentors provide that guidance, support. They've been there, done that right. They can offer advice on navigating your career, overcoming those hurdles, making those tough choices. And what's really interesting is that people who are genuinely passionate, enthusiastic about their goals, they often attract mentors more easily. It creates a positive cycle, guidance and growth, and that spills over into the workplace, creating more positive dynamic environments.
So it's not just physical surroundings and economic conditions. It's about the relationships, the support systems we build.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Our sources also highlighted some specific behavioral patterns that are common in successful individuals. So this is like taking those underlying psychological traits and putting them into action, right?
Exactly. These are the habits, the observable actions that flow from those internal qualities.
Let's start with something we've already mentioned, that can-do attitude. Sounds simple, but I bet it makes a huge impact. It's foundational. When you approach challenges with the belief that you can overcome them, it creates resilience, fuels that persistence. It's that inner conviction that keeps you moving forward, even when things get tough.
It's that voice in your head saying, I got this, even when it's hard. Okay, what about persistence and resilience as behaviors? We already talked about those as traits.
Right, so when you see them in action, successful people demonstrate persistence by putting in the time and effort consistently, often for long periods. They push through those setbacks, that's part of the game. And their resilience is shows in how quickly they recover from failures. They actually learn from those experiences and keep going without missing a beat.
It's not about avoiding failure. It's about how you handle it when it happens. What about flexibility? Is that a key behavior too?
Super important, especially these days. Successful people, they aren't rigid in their thinking or their methods. They're willing to adapt, change course when new information comes along or when the unexpected happens. They see those as opportunities to learn and grow, not as stop signs.
Being able to pivot, adjust, that's gold in a world that's constantly changing. Okay, let's get practical. Focus and time management. Those have to be key too.
100%. Successful people are incredibly focused on their priorities, and they manage their time with intention. They're not just letting the day run them. They set clear goals for their tasks, and they're organized. Their work is structured in a way that maximizes productivity, so every day, every effort moves them towards their bigger objectives.
It's about being deliberate, making those minutes and hours count. We've talked about goal setting, but it seems like it deserves its own spotlight as a behavior.
Yeah.
Especially when it's paired with accountability.
For sure, setting specific, challenging, but attainable goals, that's a hallmark of successful people. But it's not enough to just have a list, right? There has to be a real sense of accountability to themselves, sometimes to others, to ensure they actually follow through. And breaking those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps, that's a key behavior too. It makes those big aspirations seem less daunting.
Makes them more like a project you can actually tackle. Okay, and finally, curiosity and continuous learning. These come up again and again.
Because they're so vital. Successful people have this insatiable curiosity. They're constantly seeking out new knowledge, different perspectives, new experiences. It fuels their passion, their innovation, and it helps them make smarter decisions in their field. They stay open to new ideas, always pushing to learn more. It keeps them evolving, growing.
It's that active engagement with the world, always wanting to learn more. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Our sources included some really interesting case studies of successful people. It helps bring all these qualities and behaviors to life.
I love case studies. Seeing how these abstract concepts play out in the real world, it's powerful stuff.
It seems like that can-do attitude, resilience, being adaptable, and that commitment to always learning, there are common threads, right?
Absolutely. Across different fields, different endeavors, these qualities popped up again and again as crucial factors in overcoming obstacles and achieving a high level of success.
And that positive outlook we talked about earlier, it seems like it really influences how people approach and tackle challenges.
100%. A positive mindset isn't just about feeling good. It directly impacts problem solving. It helps people stay focused on solutions, even when facing adversity.
And being able to adapt, that seems so crucial, especially when those unexpected curveballs come your way.
You gotta be able to roll with the punches. Being flexible, open to change, it helps people navigate those uncertain times and actually capitalize on new opportunities as they pop up. And resilience, which is often fueled by a deep passion for their work, that's what allows them to overcome those big challenges and really drive innovation. Being able to learn from those setbacks, not let them define you, that's huge.
It's interesting how that curiosity is like the engine, right? It drives that constant learning, that self-improvement, and it keeps them at the top of their game.
Absolutely. Continuous learning, it's powered by curiosity, and it's essential for growth. And like we said before, actively seeking out mentors, learning from peers, that can really accelerate that growth.
Our sources also touched on leadership qualities in successful individuals. It seems like things like emotional stability, they call it low neuroticism, and being highly conscientious, organized, responsible, those are often strong indicators of effective leadership.
They are, and emerging leaders, they also tend to be more extroverted, open to new experiences, willing to take those calculated risks. And they often have a strong sense of personal control, and they trust others. But here's a fascinating twist. Sometimes being in a leadership role can actually change those personality traits over time.
Wow, so the role itself can shape the person, not just the other way around. That's really interesting. Okay, no journey to success is without its bumps in the road. What about those challenges, those obstacles that inevitably top up? How do successful individuals deal with those?
This is where they really stand out. They don't see challenges as a reason to quit. They see them as opportunities to grow, to innovate, sometimes even to discover whole new markets.
It's a totally different way of looking at things, right? This idea of actually loving challenges.
Right. It's not about masochism. They get energized by those difficulties. They see them as chances to stretch their abilities, sharpen their skills. And they focus on what they can control, actively searching for solutions rather than getting stuck in the problem.
That proactive problem-solving mentality, it's like it's built in.
It is. And there's often a sense of satisfaction, even a reward that comes from overcoming a tough problem, especially one that makes a real difference.
And once again, we come back to resilience in the face of setbacks. It's everywhere in these stories of success.
Yep. Being able to look at failure as a valuable lesson, adjust their approach based on what they learned, and then come back stronger, more determined. That's a hallmark of successful people.
So it's about reframing failure. It's not a full stop, it's valuable feedback. This has been so insightful. As we wrap up our deep dive, are there any key strategies that people can actually use to cultivate more success in their own lives?
Our sources highlighted several important strategies. First and foremost, consciously work on developing those key psychological attributes we talked about. Confidence, passion, focus, optimism, persistence, adaptability, curiosity. These not only help you grow personally, but also make your relationships and collaborations stronger.
And finding a mentor. That comes up again as a powerful strategy.
For sure. Actively seek out mentors, people who've been there, done that. They can offer invaluable guidance and support.
And developing that problem-solving mindset, that ability to bounce back, that's key too.
Essential. Be proactive, focus on solutions, and build that resilience. Those are essential skills for reaching your long-term goals.
And in this fast-changing world, learning and adapting, those are still essential.
100%. Make lifelong learning a priority, whether that's formal education, teaching yourself, professional development, whatever works for you. It helps you stay relevant, adaptable, and keeps you growing.
And finally, building strong relationships. Being a good communicator, really understanding what others need.
Those solid, supportive relationships, they're the foundation of successful collaborations. They allow people to combine their strengths and achieve more together. At the end of the day, success is a journey, right? It takes hard work, dedication, but it also takes cultivating the right mindset and building those habits that allow you to constantly learn and grow.
That was a truly fascinating look into what makes success tick. We covered those essential traits, the impact of our environment, those key behaviors that set successful people apart. I hope you found this deep dive as insightful as I did. Maybe it's even sparked some ideas for your own journey. For more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And thanks for tuning in to Podwave Pulse.